All right, we are back on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Showtime now to talk a little ASU spring football. It opens up in a couple of days. That man right there is Hode Rubino, devilsdigest.com. Hode, thanks for taking the time tonight. Before we get into the Sun Devils spring football 2022, the news broke last week. Jaden Daniels makes his decision off to LSU. Give me a quick thought on JD's decision. Are you surprised he ended up in the SEC? In the Bayou at a program like LSU?
Well, let's put it this way, Tim. I'm not surprised he ended up in the SEC because if you recall, there were very heated talks between him and Missouri. And honestly, and I heard this both from a Missouri insider and an LSU insider, that his path to be the starting quarterback at Missouri was much easier than it was at LSU. Now, obviously, us here in the West Coast know enough about the SEC that LSU, in terms of cachet, in terms of prestige, is a much better team than Missouri. And even though LSU obviously did experience some down years after that national championship with Joe Burrow, I think that it's still a more attractive destination for Jaden Daniels. So he's really bidding on himself for having much more of a quarterback competition over there in Baton Rouge than he would in Columbia.
Yes, and he's playing for a new staff and a new head coach in Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrook, the offensive coordinator. So it's going to be interesting. But all right, that's the past. The present right now and the future for Arizona State as they open up spring ball in a few days here. Thanks to JD's decision, the quarterback derby is wide open. A lot of talk, a lot of eyes on the Alabama transfer and Paul Tyson, but Hode, there's a host of candidates as they open up spring ball. How do you handicap the quarterback derby, if you will? What are some of the things you'll be looking for as they open up spring practice?
Well, I think, and you can say that maybe they're doing it out of respect, however you want to phrase it, that Trent Bourget, who's by far the most experienced returning quarterback, although he doesn't have that many snaps under his belt, is going to start spring practice on Tuesday the 15th as the number one quarterback. Paul Tyson, I expect him to be the number two quarterback. Now, I did hear definitely a lot of good buzz from Paul Tyson ever since he arrived on campus. And I think, proof is in the pudding in some respects that Paul Tyson has released a couple of videos where he and a lot of the other newcomers on offense are actually spending spring break here in Tempe and not in Rocky Point or any other part of the Mexican Riviera. So I think that does say a lot of the commitment that Paul Tyson and the newcomers, for that matter, do have. So I expect that really to be a two-man race. Hard for me to see a third quarterback just sneaking up and really tilting the scales in their favor. So Trent Bourget is going to start spring practice as a number one quarterback. Yep. Does he end spring practice as number one quarterback? I think that Paul Tyson may have the advantage over there, but it's going to be definitely an interesting quarterback competition, something we have not seen since Jaden Daniels' freshman year.
Hode, spring ball always has added importance when you have two new coordinators. ASU has two. Start on the offensive side of the ball. Glenn Thomas comes over. Two-part question. One, will Thomas have a say or the ultimate say in who will be the starting quarterback? And from what you know, what does Thomas bring to the offense?
Yeah, I think with Glenn Thomas, I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different than it will be with Zach Hill. I think Herm was pretty much hands-off when it comes to the offense. And look, I know that the heavy emphasis on the running game that ASU has exhibited in the last couple of years, if you recall, in 2020, and sure, COVID, weird year, only 4-game campaign, but ASU ran the ball 65 times. But last year, when he had a more quote-unquote normal year, ASU ran the ball 61 times. So, I mean, something that's really just the Herm Edwards influence over here. But I just think that if the offensive coordinator, being a new one like Glenn Thomas, or even back then one is Zach Hill, does not have as much confidence in the passing game in the quarterback, then he is going to be tending to go to the running game early and often. Now, just like you said, that ASU is going to break in a new starting quarterback, they're also going to break in a new starting running back. And Rashad White has huge shoes to fill. Obviously, Chip Trayanum transferring from ASU to Ohio State and playing linebacker there, no less in Columbus, definitely does not make the picture any rosier in Tempe when it comes to the ground attack. So Daniel Ngata, who I think is a running back that really maximized each and every snap that he got. If you recall that road game against BYU when almost nothing was going right for the offense, Daniel Ngata came in the third quarter, 8 carries, 87 yards. And I think really from there on out, really just maximize every opportunity that he has. He's going to be vying for that starting running back position along with Xavier Valade, the running back from Wyoming, who does come with great numbers to Tempe. Sure, some may be skeptical how successful any player, including Valade, can make that jump from the Group 5 to the Power 5 level. But I think that ASU is still going to be an offense which ultimately is going to rely more on the running game than is the passing game, just because there's still a lot of puzzle pieces to figure out with the passing game, breaking in a new quarterback, and also seeing what you have at wide receiver, which I don't think is a complete picture by any means.
Donnie Henderson takes over for Antonio Pierce as the defensive coordinator. Now, Donnie's been with the program, obviously, Hode. So give me a quick scouting report on that side of the ball. Who's back? Some names to watch going into not only spring ball, but obviously looking ahead to fall 2022.
Yeah, everything I've been hearing since Donnie Henderson has assumed the job, that everything is really going to be more of the same of last year. I don't think Donnie Henderson is going to come here and reinvent the wheel. I heard that he's very delegating in nature, if you will, with the various position coaches on that side of the ball. So I don't think we're going to see anything really very, very different than what we saw from last year. And look, I mean, I'm not saying that ASU did not lose some key pieces in the front seven in linebacker Darren Butler, defensive lineman Tyler Johnson, and DJ Davidson. But I still feel that with the returning talent that they have, and maybe some plugs that were able to fill in the front seven, I think that this is still going to be the strength of the team on either side of the ball. Yeah. Big question, obviously, is secondary. You are replacing four starters. You know, two of them, Chase Lucas and Jack Jones at cornerback, may very well be playing on Sundays. So there's definitely a lot of question marks to be answered over there. Aaron Fletcher came as a defensive backs coach from Missouri. Definitely had some success both there in Columbia, also in Tulsa prior to that. So he's really going to be under the microscope. How can he take a largely inexperienced defensive back unit, and maybe more on the safety side than the cornerback side, to be honest, how he can really make sure that drop off a lot of people are expecting to happen from last year to this year with the safeties and the cornerbacks is really going to be minimal. But as you know, Tim, if you're not going to have just an average defensive backs unit of the Pac-12, it's going to be a long, long season.
All right, Hoda Rubino, appreciate your time, man. Hey, real quick question for you. We got about 30 seconds. Herm Edwards, from the time he arrived in 2018, have you noticed since the investigation began a change in his energy level, his demeanor at all? Has this weighed on him? Is he still the same guy he was when he arrived?
I would say at times I would subscribe to that theory, but I think Herm Edwards, something that he's done very well, I think in his entire career going back to the NFL, is really putting on a brave face. And I just think in general, and this might sound very cliche, but this season, just expect ASU to be us against the road mentality, circling the wagons. And I think that Herm Edwards is definitely going to lead the fight in that, if you will. So I think that what happened last year, not only in the offseason, but also in the regular season, when a team that, in my opinion, should have vied not only for the South Championship, but with the Pac-12 Championship, did really disappoint. I think that also weighed in on Herm Edwards. And obviously having news just at the doorstep of a fall camp about losing 3 assistants, not even a month and a half after the season ends, losing offensive coordinator Zach Hill. I mean, sure, I think that does take a toll. But again, I do expect Herm Edwards to really keep a brave face and try not to show that demeanor that maybe a lot of people are expecting him to show. But when the games are going to go in the W and the L columns, ultimately, that's I think what's going to dictate his demeanor and the entire staff.
All right, Hoda, appreciate your time. We're taking a quick break. We'll be back with more after this.